Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here to present you my NBA morning shoot around for Friday, November 8th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all my NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. If you haven't come and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools that help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily Fanduel and Draftkings cash startups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for our DFS needs. So make sure to check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So we got a solid little slate today, 11 games on the docket. I think today's going to be a pretty fun slate, man. We got some really good value plays out there. We got some guys that we could pay up for. There's a lot of ways that we can build our lineups today. So yeah, man, I'm ready to jump in this real quick though. Before we do, if you guys don't mind, please take that quick second, click the like button down below. Helps me out. I really appreciate that from you guys. And yeah, let's go. So we'll start at point guard and we'll work our way through. There's a couple guys I definitely think we could pay up for. We'll start with Luka Doncic going against New York. I think this is a really good spot. You know, Luka's a guy that has triple double upside any night. Been playing very well to start the season, playing a bunch of minutes. And this is a game where Dallas definitely should take care of business against a young New York Knicks team. 10.5. I like Doncic. I think he's a guy who's going to go under own, and he definitely has the upside that we're looking for. Next, we'll go with Damian Lillard, coming off back-to-back losses against the Warriors and against the Clippers last night. They got to rebound. They got to get a win. Against Brooklyn today, I think this is a solid spot for Portland to definitely bounce back and kind of get back on the winning side of things. And I think Lillard at 10,000, he's going to come out, ball out, do everything he has to do to get his team a win. So I think that he's a guy that you can look at. He's giving you a solid floor with at least 43 fantasy points in every single game so far this year. And I think he gives you about 60 fantasy point upside. So Lillard, I think, is a guy that you can also consider in the kind of the higher tier. One more guy up here I think we can look at, Trae Young. He's coming off. He started started the season off really, really hot. He got injured, came back, had a bad game last game against Chicago. The game before that was absolutely killing it, though. For me, Trae Young is a GPP play just because he has been a little bit up and down the past couple games. But, he's already shown us the upside a couple times this year with the 62 fantasy point game, 57, 54. So the upside is definitely there. I think he is a good upside GPP play that we could consider today. Next, we will go to Malcolm Brogdon. Guys has been playing very, very well, filling up the stat sheet, dropping dimes. He's got double-digit assists in every game but three. Averaging almost 10 assists a game, plus averaging 22 actual real-life scoring points. I think the floor is very, very good for Malcolm Brogdon at 8,800. And I think that he's a guy that we can look at once again going against a Detroit team who's pretty banged up, and Indiana can have a pretty good game here. So that's really where I'm at with the higher tier. We'll move down. There's two guys that I like. There's one mid tier guy that I'll talk about first. I talk about Isaiah Thomas going against a young Clippers team. I'm thinking about Isaiah Thomas they don't want to really let him loose and say, hey, man, go get yours. We're going to play you 28 to 30 minutes. He's played 19, 24, 19, 24. It's every other game. If the trend goes the way it's been, then today he'll probably play around 25 minutes. And at 5,500, definitely not a cash game play, but GPP, I think that you can really look at him. He does have a little bit of upside, already shown us with a couple 30-plus fantasy point games. Then we'll go to the value tier. I think this guy's going to be crazy high owned in cash games. You probably just want to put him in and just move on. Don't overthink it. We'll talk about Raul Neto. We know Ben Simmons is out. Last game against Utah, Neto played 30 minutes, got you 11, 3, 4, and 3 for 26 fantasy points. You can't really depend on him getting 3 steals a game, but the guy is very active on defense, and he is a guy that's going to do a little bit of everything. 3,700 price tag. All you need is about 19 for value. Definitely think he can get us 19 here, especially if he's going to play 30 minutes and be in that starting point guard role. I think he's a premier value play on today's slate. Moving on to shooting guard, there's some that we'll start at the higher end. I'm not really going to pay too crazy for anybody. The first guy I'll talk about, though, is Bradley Beal. Going against a young Cleveland team. I think this game is going to be high scoring. Bradley Beal's playing crazy minutes right now. The price tag has actually came down a little bit. due to a couple of games where he kind of struggled. And he didn't even really struggle. He still scored in the 2 games against Detroit and Minnesota. He still scored 22 and 30 real life points. He just didn't fill up the stat sheet in the other ways that we really needed to get his fantasy production. Definitely think today we can go right back to this well, though. I think he's a really good play today at 9,100. We need 45 for value. And he already has almost a 70 fantasy point game. So he does have some upside there on this price tag. After him, I mean, I'm not really too interested in anybody else at the top. I think if I was going to pay for anybody else, it probably would be Drew Holiday at 8,200. He just, he's doing a little bit of everything. Drew Holiday's a guy that definitely fills up the stat sheet, plays really good defense, and he's more of a GPP play for me. But I think that he does have some upside at 8,200. Now we'll kind of move to the mid tier. I think that's where a lot of other guys are drawing my interest. First guy I'll quickly talk about is we will go with CJ McCollum, 6,400. I think this is just too cheap of a price tag. I talked about Damian Lillard. I talked about how Portland's coming off back-to-back losses. McCollum had a pretty good game yesterday against the Clippers. Still was in a loss, though. I think that today I'm going to go right back to this well. All you need is 32 for value, and we know he has 40, 50 fantasy point upside if he gets hot. I think it's a buy low opportunity for CJ McCollum, and he's a guy that I think you could really look at in the mid-tier at the shooting guard spot. Also, Josh Richardson, he's always been the starting shooting guard for 76ers, but he's also been that backup point guard when Ben Simmons would come off the floor. I think that Josh Richardson's a guy that he's getting extra ball handling responsibilities with Ben Simmons out. And just like I talked about Nato, being a good value play at the point guard spot for the 76ers, Josh Richardson definitely gets a major bump without Ben Simmons in the lineup. So I think that he's a really good play at 5,900. We just seen it last game against Utah, 43 fantasy points, showing us the upside, on this price tag. So I think that he's a really, really, really good play. Then we'll move down a little bit. 2 more guys I'll throw out there. I think that we can look at Gary Harris. He is a game-time decision with an ankle injury, but he's probable. I expect him to play. I expect him to be fine. I just think this is too cheap of a price tag for him. It's like we need 25 for him to hit value. He has 35 fantasy point upside. He is more of a GPP play, but I just think that he's going to play 30-plus minutes today, and I think this is a good opportunity for him. Lastly, talk about a buy low opportunity. We got Evan Fournier. Been playing him the past couple of years, and he has upside. And we know that he hasn't had the monster upside game yet. But this is just too dirt cheap of a price tag. All you need is 22 for value, and Fournier easily gives us 35 fantasy point upside. So I think he's a really good play. I'm at 4,500. It's too cheap for him. He's a baller for sure. Moving on to small forward, this is a spot where there's some guys that we could definitely pay up for as small forward, but there's also a couple really good value and mid-tier plays also. We'll start with Antetokounmpo. I mean, coming off a monster game last game against the Clippers, 80 fantasy points. He has 2 out of his last 3 games. He scored 78 or more fantasy points. He's just playing out of his mind right now, playing a ton of minutes. It should be a very competitive game against the Utah Jazz as well. I think that you really got to consider paying up for Antetokounmpo. He's one of the premier pay up spots. You got LeBron. It's tough. Who you want to pay up for? You want to pay up for Antetokounmpo, or you want to pay up for LeBron? It's really, really tough. I mean, LeBron's coming off 3 straight games of triple doubles. Both of these guys are playing out their mind. I personally feel you got to get one of 2 of these guys in your lineups today. They're $100 difference, so you can interchange the lineups, but I like both of these guys a lot. Both of them giving us massive upside and giving us a really, really good floor. Me personally, I probably would give a little bit more of the edge to Antetokounmpo. The only reason I say that is because Antetokounmpo is the main guy on his team. They always have the ball in his hands. That it is what it is. He's by far their best player. On the Lakers, on the other hand, you got LeBron, yes, But you also got Anthony Davis, and I've seen already a couple of times this year, LeBron's kind of taking a little bit of a back seat, say, hey, Anthony Davis, get yours. And so if I had to give the bump, like I said, I probably would go a little bit to Antetokounmpo, but I definitely love LeBron today. I think that he's in a good spot, and you can pay it for either guy, and I wouldn't blame you. Then we can go with Pascal Siakam. Should be an up-tempo game going against the Pelicans. The guy's playing a ton of minutes. He's coming off a massive double-double against Sacramento. He's already hit 40 fantasy points 4 times this season, showing us the upside with the 62 fantasy point game against New Orleans. Siakam's given us a really solid floor in a game which I expect to be competitive against the Pelicans. I think he's a guy that you can pay up for. You save, almost 2,500 from the LeBrons and the Antetokounmpos. We'll go down a little bit. I like Tobias Harris. We know Ben Simmons. I think that he gets a little bit more usage bump as well. 6,500 I think is a really good price tag for him. It's a buy low opportunity in my opinion. All you need is 32 for value. He's averaging 37 on the season. I think this is a guy you throw in your cash games and you could just move on and feel comfortable with what he's going to give you. So Antetokounmpo's a really good spot. And then we got another guy played him last game and definitely worked out for me. I'm going to go right back to the well. Very good value play here at small forward. I'm going with Jarrett Culver. I like all the Minnesota guys going against this young Warriors team. Culver's coming last game, played him 29 minutes, and he got us 32 fantasy points. Absolutely crushed value, did a little bit of everything, and I think that you can go right back to this well. I like him. I think that Neto and Culver are probably the top 2 value plays on the slate, in my opinion. I like both of these guys a lot. Moving on to power forward. We talked about it. Anthony Davis coming off the worst game of his season so far, where he only scored 37 fantasy points. I expect him to bounce back, have a really good game today. Going against his Miami team, I like him, man. It's like we know what he's going to give us, close to a double-double every night, averaging 53 fantasy points on the season. I wouldn't blame you if you try to go, away from LeBron, away from Antetokounmpo, and put Anthony Davis. I think he will be the lower owned of the guys that you pay up for today. So he definitely is in play. Anytime Anthony Davis is playing, you got to consider him. Just the upside that he gives us is just ridiculous. Then we got Kristaps Porzingis. I like Porzingis a lot. Going against his old team, I think he's gonna want to prove something. Like, hey, you guys traded me, you got rid of me. And we're going to ball out on you guys. He's back to, he is up to playing 30-plus minutes a game now. After the first couple of games, they were kind of easing him in a little bit. Going against his old team, I could see, a bunch of these Mavericks, feeding him. And, hey, man, have a good game against your old team. I like him here. I think it's a really, really good matchup for Porzingis, and it's a solid price at 8,400. Then we will go. I'm going to go with. I'm going to move down a little bit. I think that we can go on the flip side of Porzingis. 7,000 for Randall, I think is a good price tag for him. He's going to play the minutes. The guy fills up the stat sheet. He has triple-double upside. We've seen it from Julius Randle in the past. I think this is a good price tag. I think he's given us a solid floor. Definitely has some upside. So I think that Julius Randle is a guy that you can also look at to play. And then a guy I haven't really talked about too much this year. GPP plays strictly for me, but I think that he is in play. Actually, I'll talk about him real quick. I think Aaron Gordon's a guy that we could possibly consider. 6,300 is just too cheap for him. I'm definitely up and down this season, but he has been playing the minutes for the most part. That's what I like, coming off 37 minutes against Dallas. Aaron Gordon is strictly a GPP for me, but I think he is in play, and he's a guy that you can look at. Probably going to be a little bit lower owned as well. Last 2 guys I will talk about. I like Al Horford. Al Horford's been playing very well, for the 76ers so far to start the season. He's playing right around 30 minutes. He's a very good passer. He has upside. He's already showed us that a little bit. It gets a little bit of a downgrade now that Embiid is back in the lineup, but I still like him, man. This is too cheap. You need 32 for value. He's averaging 37 on the season. Al Horford is a really good play, I think, today going against Denver. And then lastly, I think you can look at Robert Covington. He's in that starting lineup. He's been playing, pretty decent. He is a GPP play just because he's not getting the minutes I feel he should really get. I feel this guy should be playing right around 30 minutes, and that's not what he's getting. But 5,800 going against a Warriors team who's just young. I expect Minnesota to be able to win this game. I think Covington is a GPP play that we could possibly consider on today's slate. Especially if we got a bunch of injuries out there and we hear that he's going to get a little bit more minutes also, we could really look at him. Lastly, we'll go to center. I'll start at the top. I talked about, liking this Minnesota team a lot. Karl-Anthony Towns, this is a spot where I feel he can absolutely feast. Coming off a massive double-double against Memphis, 25 and 13. 11.5 is a tough price tag. I don't know if I want to pay for him over like a LeBron or Antetokounmpo, but I wouldn't blame you. Especially in this matchup against the Warriors, there's nobody on the Warriors team that could guard this guy. He's just too big for them. Karl-Anthony Towns, man, he's a guy that you could really consider today. Andre Drummond, I'm going to continue to talk about this dude. He's just starting the season off absolutely crazy numbers right now. Last game was a little bit disappointment just because he didn't get 20 rebounds. No, I'm just joking, man. You can't expect somebody to get 20 rebounds a game consistently, even though he did have, 4 straight games of 20 rebounds. He already had 5 this season. He's averaging almost 19 rebounds a game. Just the rebounds alone, plus the fact he's averaging 20 points, that's giving you a solid floor right there. And then you add the fact that the assist numbers are up a little bit. He's had 6 and 7 assists in 2 of the past 3 games. Plus, we know he's going to play defense and get you a couple of blocks a game. Andre Drummond, Anthony Towns are easily the top 2 premier plays at center. After that, we can move down a little bit, a couple more guys. We could talk about Jokic going against Philadelphia. It is a little bit of a tough matchup going against Embiid. I really don't like playing big guys going against each other because they tend to bang, and somebody ends up getting in foul trouble. Also, Jokic has, unfortunately, as much as I don't want to say, he's been a little bit inconsistent. Minute-wise, number-wise, there's only been 3 games this season where he's played over 30 minutes. It could be due to blowouts, etc. I understand. And I think he definitely is a play. He isn't played, just not in cash games. Definitely a GPP. Same thing with Vucevic. Up and down on the season. I understand. But, Vucevic is Vucevic. Same thing like Jokic. Both of these guys are top 5 centers in the league. I like them a lot, and I think that we can go right back to this well today. Moving down a little bit, a guy that I think we can play on a little bit lower end. I would look at where's he at? Dwight Powell, 5,100. Going against the Knicks. He's playing the minutes. He's got 25, 27, 23 minutes. 33 minutes since coming back from injury. If he's going to play right around 30 minutes against his New York team, definitely think he is in play. We need about 25 for value. And I would say he gives us 30, 35 fantasy point upside. Nothing crazy, but it's 6, 7X. We'll definitely take it on this price tag. So that's really where I'm at with today's slate. If you want a more in-depth analysis on today's slate, check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, good luck on your guys' contest, all right? Peace out.